Doing your own car repairs is supposed to save you money, but making just one of these mistakes will literally cost you your engine. Every week, dealerships tow in cars wrecked not by driving, but by fixing. We're talking cracked oil pans, fried computer modules, and snapped wheel studs. It's completely self-inflicted, and the DIYers paying these massive bills aren't the nervous ones, they're the confident ones. Here are the 10 deadliest DIY repair mistakes, ending with the #1 habit that's probably sitting in your garage right now. Number 10. The forgotten rag. You're doing intake work, and you lay a shop rag on the engine to keep it out of your way. You finish, forget it's there, and start the car. Here's the physics. Air moving through an intake system, especially on anything turbocharged, isn't drifting. It's being pulled at a velocity strong enough to inhale loose fabric. That rag gets pulled straight into a turbo impeller spinning at over 100,000 revolutions per minute, and fabric hitting fins at that speed doesn't jam the wheel, it shreds it. Same story with an electric cooling fan. A rag caught in spinning blades can snap fins off, sending plastic shrapnel through the shroud and sometimes into the radiator behind it. A 50-cent rag just cost you a turbocharger, easily over $1,000 in parts and labor. The fix costs nothing. Before you turn the key, walk the bay and physically account for every rag and tool. 15 seconds, and it's the cheapest insurance on this entire list. Number 9. Tightening suspension unloaded. This one doesn't blow up immediately. It shows up weeks later as a clunk, a pull to one side, or tires wearing unevenly for no obvious reason. Control arm bushings are rubber, designed to flex within a specific range as the suspension moves. With the car up on a lift, the suspension hangs fully drooped, a position it was never meant to sit in long term. Torque that bolt down tight while it's drooped, and you permanently pre-twist the rubber into a stretched, stressed shape before the car has even moved. Drop the car back down, and ride height adds even more stress on top of the twist already baked in. Every bump and turn works that bushing from an already strained starting point. It tears prematurely, and along the way throws your alignment out of spec, eating your tires from the inside. The fix. Snug bolts loosely in the air, then torque to spec at ride height with the full weight of the car back on the suspension. 15 extra minutes, the difference between bushings that last 80,000 miles and ones that fail at 8,000. Number 8. The Vice Grip Crutch. Vice grips are genuinely useful. The problem is when they become your default instead of your last resort. They work by clamping hardened, serrated steel jaws down and crushing whatever they grip. Fine on scrap metal. A disaster on a drain plug or brake fitting made of softer metal. Those teeth bite in and round off the hex with every twist until a $5 bolt is seized with no clean way off. It's worse on brake lines. A brake line is a thin steel tube under real pressure. Clamp vice grips onto one to hold it steady, and it's easy to crush the wall just enough to create a weak point you can't see. That line can hold for weeks and then let go on the highway. Keep vice grips for scrap and non-critical parts. For anything with a fastener head or a soft metal line, use the right socket or a flare nut wrench. Number 7. Open engine surgery. You've got the valve cover off, reaching for a bolt. A socket pops off your ratchet and drops straight into an open intake port or an exposed oil gallery. This is one of the few mistakes here that can wreck an engine in seconds, not weeks. If that object reaches the combustion chamber and the engine gets cranked, you're looking at a bent valve or cracked piston. On an interference engine, a full rebuild. Drop into an oil gallery instead, and it can starve a bearing, taking the crankshaft or camshaft down with it. The habit that prevents this: the moment a port is open, it gets covered. Rags, tape, purpose-made plugs, anything you'll notice is missing and that can't itself fall in. Never work directly over an open port with loose tools in hand. And if something drops and you can't account for it, stop. Don't crank the engine on a hope. Pull it out, however long that takes. Number 6. Dry caliper slide pins. This one feels harmless because the car drives fine when you finish, which is exactly what makes it dangerous. Floating brake calipers ride on slide pins that need to move freely so the caliper centers and releases evenly. They need a specific high-temp brake grease. Regular grease breaks down under brake heat and can attack the rubber boots. Skip that step and bolt everything back dry, and the pins start binding. A bound caliper doesn't fully retract. The pad stays in light contact with the rotor, creating constant friction and heat. That heat glazes your new pads, making them hard and less effective. The rotor heats unevenly across its face, the textbook recipe for warping, which shows up as steering wheel shake weeks later. In bad cases, sustained drag boils the brake fluid, introducing air and turning a firm pedal soft right when you need it. All from skipping a $2 tube of grease. Every brake job, clean and re-lubricate the slide pins. No exceptions. Number 5. The shortcut. You're 45 minutes into a 20-minute job, and there's a bracket or hose in the way that would take 10 more minutes to remove properly. So you don't. You just yank the part past it, figuring it'll flex enough to clear. Modern engine bays have zero slack. Forcing an alternator or compressor past a radiator without first pulling the fan shroud or intake piping doesn't clear anything. It forces plastic and rubber never designed to flex that way. The part usually does come free, right as a brittle plastic coolant tee snaps or a vacuum line splits at the nipple. Plastic coolant necks get more brittle every year from heat cycling, so what might flex fine on a 2-year-old car snaps clean off on a 10-year-old one. If a part isn't moving with light, steady pressure, something is still attached. Trace it, remove it properly, and the part comes out with almost no resistance. The shortcut was never faster. It just moved those 10 minutes into a separate repair. Number 4. Impact wrench overkill. Impact wrenches excel at one job, breaking loose fasteners that have sat under torque for years. That's removal. The mistake is treating them as equally good for installation. Every bolt has a yield strength, a torque value beyond which it permanently stretches instead of just clamping tight. An impact wrench delivers rapid hammering pulses with zero feedback about where you are relative to that spec. No click, no resistance change telling you to stop. On a small bolt, you can blow past yield strength in seconds. On a valve cover or oil pan bolt threaded into soft aluminum, this strips the threads in the casting. But the dangerous version happens at the wheel. Wheel studs are engineered to a specific clamping force, and over-torquing with an impact gun stretches them beyond that limit. A stretched stud fails later, fatigued, often at highway speed under cornering load, and a snapped stud can mean a wheel coming loose while driving. The rule: impacts for breaking bolts loose. For final installation on anything with a published torque spec, finish with a torque wrench, by hand, to the exact number. Number 3. Electrical mishandling. Modern cars are computer networks, modules managing your engine, transmission, and airbags, all sensitive to voltage spikes older cars never had to worry about. Start with battery order, and it's not arbitrary. Negative terminal off first, negative back on last. Your wrench is very likely to brush the metal body while you work, and the chassis is the ground return path. If negative is still connected and your wrench bridges positive to any grounded metal, you get an instant short circuit, sparks, a welded wrench, at worst, a fire. Disconnect negative first, and that risk disappears. Jump-starting carries a related, costlier risk: reversed polarity. Clip the cables backwards, even briefly, and you force current through the electrical system in the wrong direction. Older vehicles might just blow a fuse. Modern control modules often aren't designed to survive reversed current at all, and a fried module usually can't be repaired, only replaced, with reprogramming labor on top, easily running into 4 figures. Slow down around anything electrical. Double-check polarity before every clamp connects. Negative off first, negative on last. Number 2. Lethal jacking techniques. Everything else on this list costs money. This one can cost more. Unibody cars have reinforced pinch weld points along the rocker panels. That's where a jack and stands are designed to bear weight. Jack somewhere else because it's convenient, and thin sheet metal folds under the load instead of supporting it. On the engine side, the oil pan is a common easy lift point. except it's built to hold oil, not the weight of the car. Jack there and you risk cracking it. Then there's the step people skip because it feels like it's just slowing them down. Jack stands. A hydraulic jack holds pressure with a seal, and seals fail, from age, a defect, or being bumped. When a jack fails with nothing else supporting the car, there's no warning. The car simply drops, all at once, onto whatever and whoever is underneath. The standard. Jack at the rated points, every time. Stands under the car before any part of you goes underneath it. Chocks on the wheels still touching the ground. This is the one item here where skipping the safety step isn't measured in dollars. Number 1. Blind disassembly. Here's the number 1 mistake. The one that doesn't feel dangerous while you're doing it, but quietly wrecks more projects than everything else on this list combined, because it's not one bad decision, it's a habit. It's relying on memory. You pull a job apart, brackets, bolts of different lengths, identical-looking connectors, and tell yourself you'll remember where it all goes because it seems obvious right now. It's never obvious 3 hours later, staring at a pile of hardware. On some jobs, getting the order wrong isn't just frustrating, it's catastrophic. Get timing marks wrong on an interference engine, and pistons and valves collide at the top of their travel. A bent valve repair that can rival a full rebuild. Get a drum brake spring assembly back together wrong, and you can end up with brakes that don't release or engage evenly. The fix costs nothing. Before removing anything, photograph it from a few angles, especially anything with a specific orientation like timing marks or a harness. Push bolts through a labeled piece of cardboard in the order and position they came out. Bag and tag small parts by subassembly instead of one big pile. None of this is complicated. It's just discipline that's easy to skip when, in the moment, memory feels like enough. It never is. So there they are, the 10 mistakes that turn a Saturday project into a tow truck call. Notice the pattern underneath almost all of them. It's rarely a lack of knowledge that causes the damage. It's a shortcut. Skipping the cover on an open port, the torque wrench, the jack stands, the photo before disassembly. Every one of those skips felt like it was saving 5 or 10 minutes, and every one, when it goes wrong, costs hours and hundreds or thousands of dollars to undo. None of these fixes require more skill than you already have. They require patience, torquing suspension at ride height instead of in the air, covering a port instead of assuming nothing will fall, finishing with a torque wrench instead of trusting your grip on the impact gun. That's the whole difference between a DIY mechanic who saves real money for years and one who ends up back at the dealership explaining what happened.